When I was growing up, I always wanted to be a Top Gun pilot. After watching Tom Cruise, I thought that is what I want to do when I'm older. So the boys that sent me down here today, then they let me live out a childhood dream. Well, David, thanks for the opportunity.
Morning, Damien.
What are we going to be doing today?
Well, we're going to start off at a more entry-level general aviation flight today, not quite an F-18. So how about we go pre-flight the plane?
Yeah.
And you look a bit ridiculous. Get out of the seat.
Oh, okay.
Well, Damo, now that you're better dressed for the occasion, we're going to do a quick pre-flight of the plane. First thing we'll do is check the propeller for damage, stone damage.
Yep.
Another thing we need to check is the fuel to make sure we haven't got any water or contamination.
Yep.
The next thing we need to do is remove the pitot cover. This is what provides us with our airspeed indication in flight.
Okay.
And while we're doing a walk around, we'll check all the flight controls for full and free movement.
Yep.
That's the aileron, the elevator, which controls our pitch, or up and down, and our rudder. So that's the basics. I've already done all the rest of the pre-flight checks before you got here. So how about we push it out of the hangar and go for a flight?
Awesome, let's do it.
Let's go. Righto, Damo. You get in this side. Up here onto the black area. Stepping in front of the seat. Other foot in. And slide down. Okay, Damo, we're all strapped in. We'll start the engine up, get everything warmed up, taxi out, and a little local area flight head over Bribey Island to Redcliffe. Nice, let's do it. Pop's clear. Well, here we are, we're just taxiing out now, we're going to be taking off. This is going to be great fun, so hopefully everything goes to plan. Georgia traffic, RV10, Lima, November, Lima, rolling runway 12, departure to the east. Well, Dave, it's great to get up here, but if I want to live out my childhood dream of being a pilot, what's involved in actually, starting with an entry-level pilot license? To get started at the entry level, you could start off with ultralight or recreational Australia aviation flying training, which to get a basic license would probably cost you in the order of about $5,000 and probably cost you in the order of $100 to $140 an hour for flight time once you've got your license. And do you need a certain amount of hours to fly, or at the ultralight or RAA level, the minimum would typically be in the order of 25 hours of actual flight time training. For general aviation training, you'll be flying Cessna aircraft or larger aircraft like this one, and you'll be looking at costs in the order of $10,000 to $15,000, and a minimum requirement of 40 hours of flight experience, but typically most people will be looking at about 50, 55 hours.
Well, Dave, it looks like this rain set in, so you reckon we should put the plane away?
I think so. We'll put it in the hangar, and we might have a bit of a look at what's involved in building an aeroplane of your own.
Cool, great. So now that we've actually spoken about getting the licensing to fly a plane, what's actually involved in getting a plane to fly?
Well, Damien, you've got a couple of choices. You could hire an aircraft from an aero club or from a flying school, or you could purchase your own aeroplane, be it an ultralight, a certified aeroplane such as the Piper Comanche outside, or what Chris and I did is we built this Vans RV10 as a kit plane
from raw components.
So this plane actually turned up in a kit form, but I guess there's heaps of different varieties of planes to choose from depending on what license you have as well.
Yes, there's a large variety of ultralight category aeroplanes, some of which you'll see on the field here. There are also certified aeroplanes, ones that are factory built by companies like Cessna and Piper, an example outside of the Comanche.
So if you at home did have a dream like mine, maybe not Top Gun, but actually having a plane and flying a plane, you know, from the cost of a small motor car to an investment property, you can easily do this yourself.
Good afternoon and welcome to the SAAA, the Sports Aircraft Association of Australia. The SAAA is an organisation for members who wish to manufacture and maintain and fly their own experimental category aeroplanes. This afternoon at Caboolture we've got a couple of local members and their machines, and we're going to talk to them about what makes building and owning and maintaining their own aeroplanes so special. Good afternoon, we've got Peter Pretorius and his beautiful Whitman Tailwind. Good afternoon, Peter.
Hello, David.
Tell us a little bit about your fantastic yellow baby.
Well, David, I bought this aeroplane from Wisconsin in the United States about 4 years ago, and I've been flying it ever since. The Whitman Tailwind was designed by Steve Whitman, who was the curator of the Oshkosh Airfield. He designed this in 1953. My plane was built in 1973. It's done 3,000 hours now, and I really love it, really enjoy it.
So Peter, importing this aeroplane, what was the SAAA and the significance of the experimental category in relation to your owning this aeroplane?
Well, David, importing an aircraft is obviously not ideal. The ideal situation, and this is really where the SAAA comes into its own, is when you build an aircraft from plans or from a kit or whatever, and the procedures to get the airplane flying from there and the paperwork involved to get it registered and all of that. But the SAAA did play a big part in my importing this airplane. I don't think I could have done it without them. Really facilitated the whole process of getting it registered with the Australian authorities, and then also getting my modifications approved for me to fly it.
Let's have a bit of a look at some of these modifications, because you're not the average pilot, and you've got some special mods to suit your particular needs. How about you explain that to the viewers? Okay,
well, you're very welcome. First, before we show you the modifications, I'd just like to tell you a little bit about it. I'm a paraplegic and I walk with crutches, and I really cannot use my legs. I can use them to some extent, but not enough to fly an aeroplane. So an aeroplane is controlled by means of elevators, ailerons, which is on the wings, and then also the rudder, which steers it, and you do the rudder controls with your feet. So I had to devise a system whereby I can effect this rudder control by hand, and I've installed a little stick in there which I'd like to show you.
Let's go and have a look, shall we? Here we are inside Peter's plane, and Peter's going to explain to us the modifications he made to alleviate the use of rudder for someone who has prosthetic legs. Peter, talk us through the rudder controls.
Okay, David, I'll gladly do that. This stick in the center here is my rudder stick. This center is the joystick. So normally the joystick would sit on the dash, or it would sit between your legs, but my rudder stick sits here. The challenge for me was really to convert this aeroplane for use by a normal able-bodied person and myself. So if one day I wanted to sell it, you just have to unbolt this with 4 bolts and the whole system falls out of place, and a normal person can fly it. A normal person can even fly it now as it is. So this stick, if I push it forward, it pushes the right pedal down there to the right, and the aeroplane will have right rudder, and if I pull it back, the aeroplane will have left rudder. In order to help me, I've also moved the throttle from the dashboard to my joystick over here, so at all times I've got the full control of the aircraft.
And this probably explains why you fly this aeroplane better than I fly mine.
I thank you for the compliment, but it really it took a while to learn to fly it, but certainly it works for me. Just before we go, I'd like to say that I provided quite a lot of spectator value for everybody whilst training, because I used most of the width of the runway most of the time.
Value for money out of your airstrip. Thanks very much, Peter. That's been fantastic.
Thank you, David. Nice talking to you.
Well, that's a fantastic look at a great little aeroplane. We'll let Peter taxi away now, and we'll go and have a look at Graham Humphrey's RV6. Well, good afternoon, Graham.
G'day Dave, how are you, mate?
Very well, thank you. Graham's a retired airline pilot, and upon retiring early for a lifestyle change, he selected the Vans RV6 and built it at home, and flies it off his home strip just north of Caboolture, up near the Glasshouse Mountains. Graham, tell us about why you chose to build your own aeroplane and what it is about the SAAA that makes all this come together.
Yeah, well, I was really lucky, David, because I retired in 1997 and I didn't want to give away flying though. So one of the options was to build my own airplane. Always wanted to do it. And on time we went straight to the States, to Oshkosh, the big air show over there. I travelled around many air shows all around the world, and I decided that this was the airplane that I wanted to build.
And a pretty fine example we've got here too.
Well, there's a lot of thanks to my wife and my family, because my wife was the lady on the riveting gun, and I was on the bucking bar, and we drove all these rivets, and I had a couple of sons who gave me a hand too. So it's a real family affair, and it's just fantastic.
So Graham, with the SAAA, you've got a special role, a national role, and as a technical counsellor.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what you do with the organisation and how that benefits all the members around the country.
The SAAA, as you know, is a national organisation. We've got members all over Australia. We provide them with the technical help so that they can build their own aircraft to the required standards of safety and of also build.
Yes.
So I, as a technical counsellor, go to a builder's project, and I advise him on where to find the information he needs so that he can build his aircraft to the best possible standard.
I understand it, there's been historically a couple of categories of amateur-built and experimental aeroplanes.
Yes.
Can you explain to me how that fits in with the association and the experimental aircraft fleet in Australia?
Yes, around about the end of the 90s, we had a change in direction in amateur-built aircraft in Australia, where prior to that all aircraft were called amateur-built if they were built at home by an amateur guy who's not a production line, for instance. Then we swapped across and we accepted the American system, where they had an experimental category. Experimental category allows us a great leeway in how we build our aircraft and how we fit them out, so that provided all our decisions are based on sound engineering practice, we can incorporate those modifications.
Okay, so a lot more latitude away from, say,
Absolutely.
a type
and
built.
we can enhance performance of the aircraft too. We can make them cleaner and all that sort of stuff, so they'll fly fast, perform better. These aircraft do perform very, very well.
And different engines, I believe auto conversions are popular within certain members.
Certain members, there have been some successful auto conversions. Not that many, but there have been Chevy V8s used. There have been V12 Jaguars on a couple of occasions.
You need two of them.
And Subaru's another popular aircraft auto engine that's been used in aircraft.
But by the large, Lycoming,
Yes.
tried and
yes.
tested.
Tried and tested aircraft engines, and that's one variant we don't even want to worry about. We want the thing to work.
Very good. So with the experimental category and being able to have the freedom to build your aeroplane the way you would like it, how about explain to us all your aeroplane and what you did to make this special machine so special?
Yeah. As I said, we've got a lot of freedoms with the modifications of the aircraft. For instance, the cockpit layout is not as it was in the original plans. But we've got the ability, provided our decisions are based on sound engineering practice, to modify these things so that they suit us. It's like customising a motor car. We build it so that it suits us.
Such a beautiful aeroplane. we need to go and fly it, not look at it.
That's absolutely right. It's just a joy to fly.
Okay, you hop in. So folks, any of you wish to learn more about the SAAA and building your own aeroplane, visit the website SAAA.com.